Okay, so if you look at your agendas, I have the same two things on the top. First of all, math night, remember to be thinking of your activity and what game you're gonna play and everything for that. And benchmark testing, remember I need to get the Scantrons. So the first thing that we're gonna do today is we're gonna be looking at the TEKS that we're gonna be covering for next week when we're doing adding and subtracting of integers. So the first thing that I have for you, we're gonna be looking at 6.3C and 6.3D. So I'm going to give you your TEKS study. I want you to work with your partner to fill in everything that you need, and I'll give you a couple minutes to work on that, and then we will discuss it as a group to make sure everybody has the same words and information. So get out your materials for your TEKS study.
I know. I got a paper cut. Hold on. Breathe.
Look at the vocabulary.
Yeah.
First, doing the writers.
Okay, so represent. Represent. Connect.
Okay. Connect, and we're representing energy operations, right?
Yeah.
With concrete models or not the plan, right? What house, it's technically, right?
Yeah. How? What model?
With concrete models.
Mm-hmm.
And then connect. What reaction group?
Oh, yeah.
Is it the same vocabulary for both?
I don't know, I'll look it up.
I'm sure it's very similar.
Okay.
Just one of them deals with models and one of them does not.
It goes to 6.4A after that, so I'm assuming it's the same.
Do not assume.
Yeah, but look, 6.2B, 6, they're both supporting it, so.
It is a supporting.
So it goes to 6.4A after that.
Check readiness for this one.
I got 6.3D here, and the words, vocabulary words are.
It's a readiness.
Yes, right. But you want to tell me your words? I think they're the same. Does have a lot more in this one than that one.
Add-ins,
Yeah,
addition,
that's
difference, dividend, division, divisor, factors, integer, multiplication, product, quotient, subtraction, and sum.
This one has
This one has-
negative and positive.
Negative,
That's all the
positive.
vocabulary?
Those are
And
the only
remember,
ones
right
they
now
have.
you're focusing on the vocabulary for adding and subtracting only. We'll look at the multiplication and division.
Okay.
But negative
the week
would still
after.
apply for it.
Negative.
Negative and positive, and
Yes.
then some.
So,
Yeah, any of the multiplying and dividing vocabulary we'll work on the next week.
Monica, can you say the vocabulary again?
Additives, addition, difference. But we're not doing difference because we're really
Yeah.
adding.
We can.
Yeah,
do
okay.
subtraction.
We're doing both.
We'll
Different.
focus on both.
60.
Factors,
Indeed.
integer.
Factors, integers.
Can you read that? Factors is not
Which
about
one?
multiplying? Because you're saying that you're
The
adding
applying
and
operations of
subtracting.
integers and natural numbers.
If you decompose a number, you could use, how do I get 5, 3, you know, it's adding the numbers. Factors is more focused for multiplication,
Okay.
because you can, what are the factors you're
And then
multiplying
negative.
for?
Okay.
Positive.
So the gap is the negatives.
Subtraction and sum.
So what have they been taught in fifth grade again?
They have been taught to multiply and divide positive rational numbers.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's just the negatives.
So the gap is
Negative.
negative numbers.
Do we do this one first? Yeah.
Multiplying negative numbers or
No, we're not doing multiplying, we're just doing adding and subtracting.
subtracting negative numbers, that's the.
So negative numbers in general.
Yeah, because I haven't seen that before.
Yeah. And then bubbling on a scantron.
Working with
when we
negative
get there.
numbers.
Working
Would
with
be the
negative
deficiencies
numbers.
again.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at the first one, 6.3C, because I see most of you are finished with it. So when we're talking about the verbs, remember we're talking about what they're going to do. So what are they going to do?
Represent.
Okay, so they're going to represent what? That would go to our next part.
Integer operations. Concrete models.
Okay, so the key part here is they're going to use their concrete models. Okay, and then do we have any other verbs?
Connect.
They're going to connect what?
The actual
with the
models.
Okay, so this is focused just on the actual models and what they're going to do. So when we're looking at the vocabulary for this, remember, we're talking about only adding and subtracting right now. What vocabulary words do we have?
A lot.
Addition, sum, product, dividend, divisor, quotient, subtraction, positive and negative were the sum of which I wrote.
Yes.
We'll put a little asterisk by the multiplication and division ones because they will come next week, not this week.
Yeah.
Not for this week. So we're focused on the other ones. What's something that you can recall as a vocabulary word that you believe you're going to have to use that you had last year?
0 pairs.
Zero pairs. There you go. Because we have to use that, they have to understand it, so 0 pairs is very important for them to understand. When you were looking at your vertical alignment, what did you notice in there? For what have they covered before? Sixth grade?
Adding positive numbers.
They've added, subtracted positive numbers. They have not dealt with a negative number. Now, if the teachers chose to extend it towards the end of the year and talk about some negative numbers, they might be able to talk about debt, and that's a negative thing, but they've never actually done any kind of operations with negative numbers. So that's something that's going to be new for them, that's going to be hard for them, that's something that you're going to have to work with. So now if you compare it to 6.3D, what is the difference of what we're talking about?
They're expected to do it fluently instead of just like modeling.
Yeah, they're doing it fluently now. That's the key word. They have to fluently do all of this, which means they can use the models. The models will help them if they don't understand what they're supposed to be doing. They can always reflect back on, hey, I made this model for a smaller number and then use it for a larger number. And a lot of them have used that, and they did it last year, but everything is fluently. So this is a readiness team that have to be able to do this. This is something they're going to be tested on. Okay, so the vocabulary words should be the same thing because we use the same things with the models that we do with the actual computations. And again, just focus on that 0 pairs because they've never heard that word. They're not even going to know what you're talking about with 0 pairs. Do we have any questions on the TEAK study itself?
No.
Okay, so the next thing that I have for you is we're going to look at the released questions. These are the questions from last year and the questions from the year before that. So I want you to look first at the one from 2017, and I want you to look at your data on how your kids did last year on 6.3D. And we will compare it to what we had as a school, and we will see where we think we need to do some work. Thank you. So once you find your data, make sure you have it, and then you go ahead and look at this first question and see what you think of it compared to how we taught it last year. See if there's anything that we may need to change for this year. Remember, when you're looking at the answer choices, you're trying to figure out why they would pick each answer choice. What did they do wrong to get that answer? And you're showing your work on how you would get the answer, because we always want to make the kids do the same thing we do. So if we show all our work, then the kids have to show all their work. Are we ready to talk about the first question? Okay, so what do you think of the first question?
I think that it's hard for them
Why would it be hard for them?
because they're
It's a lot
not
of
the
different
numbers.
steps.
A lot of steps.
Last, and then
Look at answer choice A. What else does answer choice A involve?
Order of operations.
Order of operations. So we think back to last year when we did the modeling and everything we did we spend a lot of time talking about integers and order of operations for the integer part? We focused on, we did order of operations and we did order of operations, but this actually is requiring them to do another step. So they're actually gonna have to remember another teak with what they're doing, okay? So which one was the correct answer? D. Okay, so you can look at what your data was for your class, how your kids did last year, and I can tell you as a campus, we had 52% get the right answer.
52%, that's a lot.
52%, so a little over half. So I can tell you that the next most picked answer was A at 27%. So that's something we need to look at. We need to figure out, maybe they thought it involved a lot of steps, so that's the answer we need to take, something like that.
If they would have gone through it, if they didn't do the negative, it would have been 11 plus 11 would have been 22. Yeah.
So if they didn't follow the order of operations?
Yeah. Or if
So
they
like-
had that as a negative, when you get 11, 11 at the end, they might have just guessed 22.
Oh, okay, so they thought, there you go.
But they also probably didn't take the time to go through the rest of it.
That was close enough to like, I must have just made a mistake in there,
Uh-huh.
so yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah.
Which goes back to what we talk about them all the time, taking their time to do things. Compare that one to the other questions that you see, like look at the one from 2 years ago, question number 12. What's the difference? What's the biggest thing you see as a difference from what they've decided to do?
12 is way easier.
All they had to do was add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're saying it also chart.
Yeah, it's a chart. You can put it together any way you want to. You don't have to follow order of operations. Now, 30, the other question,
That's a little harder, but I mean.
it's a little harder and it's a what?
Order of operations.
But I mean, it's not a multiple choice.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
It's a griddable. So of course we knew they struggled with the griddable, you know. But if we compare, the interesting part is in 2016 on question number 12, we had 57%. So a question that was a lot easier for them, we were at 52% last year. So something we're doing is actually working in the right direction for them to have to do something that was a lot harder.
Yeah.
So you should be looking at how your kids did, and you know if you're right around Will Wilson was, if there's something that they're not, and then we'll look at how we're going to do the modeling now. So I'm going to have you use your two-color counters, and we're going to do some questions, because I think, what do you think? When we actually went over modeling and we really enforced it in the classes last year, do you think it helped?
Yes.
Yes.
It did.
Do you think the students had a better understanding?
Yes. Last year.
Okay, very good. So we're gonna go over some questions again to make sure we know how to do that. Adding and some subtracting, if we can get to it today, both with the two-color counters and with the number line. So clear out some space in front of you, and I'm gonna give you some blank paper so you can see what I need you to do. Start over here. Take a piece of paper and pass it around. There are some colored pencils in the middle if you want to use two different colors. It doesn't have to be any specific color. You pick the two you want. Just stick your books on the floor so there's lots of space. Or on the desk behind me.
No, it's fine, I'm just kidding.
You can move it around. Shoot.
Miss Chambers,
Yes.
your math teachers wouldn't happen to be with you, are they?
We're having a planning meeting right now.
Okay, thanks. Could you tell Lyman and Jacob to come see me when they finish?
I will do.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first thing that I want you to do is your paper, basically you're gonna like fold it down the middle. Vertically.
Not like
And if you're looking at your paper, the first thing I want you to do is whatever colors you're gonna use. So if you're gonna use the red, then you're gonna say the red is your negative. And then whatever other color you use, make your key on the top corner of your paper. Whatever two colors that you have, and maybe some of you are doing shaded and unshaded, it's however you want to make the key. If you're going to have the kids use two different colors, you have them make that key. You just decide what your positive and what your negative is going to be. It doesn't have to match the colors of the counters, because we know we don't all have white and red color pencils. Enough. I mean, white, obviously, but. So, I will be taking this off in a minute, but I want you to have the top part all set up correctly. So, if you're looking at your paper, this side is going to be the number line. And this side is going to be the two color counters.
We're just doing adding right first.
Yeah, we're going to start with doing some adding examples, and then we'll see how much time we have before we get to subtraction. Because we don't want to confuse the kids. I want to start very simple. So we'd go through the adding with the kids, make sure they have it, do some more practice without the models before we get to the subtraction. Okay, has everybody got their paper set up? Yeah. Good. Okay, well, I'm going to take this off for now. Okay, so if I give you, we start very simple. So if I give you the question, and you can put the question right where you folded your paper. Right in the middle of where your paper is folded is where you can actually put your question. I'm putting it up here. If I give you something very simple like 3 plus 2,